Come, let us explore this dawn's meditation class and group practice that we too could meditate like a Jedi. This morning, together, let us explore the 16th passage of the Unwaning Victory Banner, a meditation text composed many centuries ago by Prahe Vajra, the great Buddhist reformer, from present-day Pakistan. Together, attachment, anger, and ignorance arise from the path of great enlightenment, while the 5 ordinary enjoyments adorn the true nature of existence. He, Vajrasattva, also said. So we're going, just like last night, we're going to start with this image right here and this name. So to expand upon this, I'm going to try to turn to a visual aid. In Buddhist mythology, we are told the Buddha was flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. We're also told that the Buddha had a foolish cousin known as Devadatta, and that he was rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Sturgeon's law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, and that suckiness could look like the acolytes of Devadatta. Those of us who were conditioned since birth to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel don't do well with metaphors and symbolism and the like. Whoops, that's the wrong button. No, it's not. And when we come across paintings of Vajrasattva, we tend to think of them literally. Oh yeah, there's this fellow, he's a Buddha, he's made of light and he's magic. But it was always meant to be a metaphor. Vajra means diamond, sattva means mind, and it infers the diamond-like strength of a mind well-trained in mindfulness, symbolized by a little Vajra here, and meditation, symbolized by a bell, an upside-down bell right here. So the more time we spend cooperating with our autonomic nervous system in such a way as to effortlessly practice mindfulness and meditation, the more we do that, the more certain paradoxes become evident. Let's explore 2 paradoxes during this morning's lesson. We'll begin with the first. What arises from our practice of the path of great enlightenment? Attachment, anger, and ignorance. And we're going to return to our visual aid. The teachers who unwittingly follow in the footsteps of the Buddha's foolish cousin implore us to actively focus and actively analyze. When done too much, this exhausts the front part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, causing us to present with symptoms of depression. It also triggers our amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression. Fortunately, neither the amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Consider, if you will, our spinal cord. Every time we inhale, we have evolved to automatically access the middle part of our spinal cord, known as the sympathetic aspect of our autonomic nervous system, which has evolved to help us to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. But notice what? Notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. To notice, not from an agenda, not arbitrarily choosing what to notice and what to ignore, but from a place of vulnerability. Noticing whatever crosses our field of perception, be it external, internal, physical, mental, pleasurable, painful, interesting, boring, glorious, or grotesque. But what do we do with that which we noticed? Every time we exhale, we have evolved to automatically access the end bits of our spinal cord, known as the parasympathetic aspect of our autonomic nervous system. These bits have evolved to support our physical relaxation and mental release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and less defining, at least until our next inhalation and where the cycle begins afresh. For those of us who are comfortable with figures of speech, every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could look tantalizing to the eye, feels non-graspable to the hand. Now, these people we talked about, these people who are still stuck in being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, cruel, have a very dualistic way of looking at things. They prefer sights be beautiful, sounds be melodious, sensations be blissful, pleasurable, flavors be delicious, scents be fragrant. And if they're not, they consider it a personal failing. They also are very, very choosy about what they emote, what they intend, what they reason, what they recall, what they imagine. And they think that makes them very spiritual, but it actually is just a very silly way of indulging their controlling tendencies. Perhaps that is why Prahevajra explained that even though we tread the path of enlightenment, even though we notice, which is mindfulness, even though we relax, which is meditation, even though our practice of the seventh and eighth folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path cause the remaining six folds to occur spontaneously. Even though we do everything right, even though we dot our I's and cross our T's, we are still going to experience attachment and anger and confusion. Some people have called these the three poisons. The presence of the three poisons is not an indictment. Our imperception of the three poisons is not an acquittal. It is not an exoneration. If anything, being unaware of our attachment to anger and ignorance means that is pretty much a condemnation of our own mindfulness. Many bad teachers, many foolish teachers are so busy telling people what they can perceive and can't perceive, they forget that in so doing, they are repressing their mindfulness. However, the Buddha taught that the seventh enlightened factor was mindfulness, and that the seventh fold of the Eightfold Path was mindfulness, and that the first enlightenment factor was also mindfulness. And that it's better to notice something unpleasant and scary and uncomfortable and inconvenient than it is to ignore that. And then the author, Purahevajra, doubles down and says, while the five ordinary enjoyments adorn the true nature of existence. So there are many nicknames for mindfulness and meditation. One of the nicknames for mindfulness is the conventional. We notice the conventional. And one of the nicknames for meditation is the ultimate. We relax into the ultimate. Now, if people stuck in duality think, oh, well, meditation's better than mindfulness, let's just only concern ourselves with the ultimate. Just as it is absurd to say, I will only exhale and never inhale, it is similarly absurd to say, I will only relax and never notice. To remind us of this, the author explained that just because we cooperate passively with our autonomic nervous system, that the ancients refer to as our Buddha nature, just because we cooperate with our body's tendency to notice as we breathe in, relax as we breathe out, by definition cannot mean that we stop noticing the five ordinary enjoyments, that we stop noticing visual beauty, auditory melody or harmony, physical pleasure, gustatory deliciousness, or olfactory fragrance. That we will not only we will not notice them. In fact, we will not stop enjoying them. And that's not a problem. The problem is not pleasure and pain. The problem is what we do with pleasure and pain. If we go through life in such a way that the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune simply reinforce our tendency to notice and relax in such a way that it calms the anxiety and aggression of our amygdala and gently stimulates the empathy of our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, that which harnesses the dynamism of our dread and desire, transforming them into compassion and love. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, which can be done as simply as silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, as well as silently and mentally reciting the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. The more we do this, perhaps as little as 5 minutes every 12 hours or so, the more we do this, the more our choices, utterances, and deeds could flow from spontaneity. No, not from the scattered spontaneity that does more harm than good, but from a centered spontaneity, which is the natural byproduct of passively cooperating with the autonomic nervous system that the ancients nicknamed our Buddha nature. Having completed our opening lesson, let us now shift gears. It is Rey Skywalker's Sunday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sunday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. As a chronic weirdo, I've spent more than 30 years harnessing my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning's practice, let's play with this very easy meditation practice text. By the way, all the visual aids and all the teaching texts I've been using this morning are available for free download just by clicking the links in the description area below the video. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. If you can limit yourself to one question that I can answer before asking your third, fourth, or fifth question, that would be helpful. Some people will actually be typing questions while I'm answering the first question, whose answer they promptly ignore, and then get all angry when they don't think I've answered it. And that's just nonsense. The most efficient way for us to keep track of our first collection of 144 inhalations is for us to rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. To keep track of our next 12 inhalations, we could keep track of our next 12 inhalations using the creases of the 4 fingers on our right hand, beginning with our little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. we could keep track of the next 12 sets, 12 inhalations each, by using the creases on the fingers of our left hand. First, second, third set of 12 inhalations each. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th set of 12 inhalations each. If this seems overwhelming or ungainly, just rest assured the acquisition of any skill is overwhelming at first. Come to Livestream every 12 hours, and within a week or two, you will have mastered this skill. By the way, how can you tell if your teacher is a minion of patriarchy? Simple. If they say something you find hurtful, and you gently, respectfully point it out to them that, hey, when you said this and such, it made me feel X, Y, and Z, they are humble and sweet. They were most likely teaching in the tradition of yin, teaching in the tradition of matriarchy. If, however, they are sanctimonious and they say that the only reason you could possibly have your feelings hurt is because you believe in a permanent self and you've yet to master emptiness, that form of sanctimonious victim blaming is not loving, it is not wise, and it is strong evidence that they've missed the boat and it's time for you to find a better teacher. It has been said, it was said in a movie, it was a lot of fun. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. And it can be scary to leave the presence of someone who is cruel and foolish. But it must be done. The cruel and the foolish cannot help us. And we run the risk of modeling their behavior. I knew a Dharma teacher, and when she was a Christian, she was convinced that the church she was in was the only true church. And when she became a Buddhist, she was convinced that her teacher was the only true teacher. Carl Sagan would refer to that as a form of religious chauvinism or self-centeredness. That's not uncommon. People tend to think that people who look like them are the best people on earth, and people who speak their language, well, that's just the best language on earth, and people in their culture, well, that's the best culture on the earth, and people who are born to a religion, well, that religion must be the best on earth. And such chauvinism is not only a symptom of rigid thinking, but it's a symptom that one is rejected the mental nimbleness required for truly profound evolution. When we look at the mythology of the Buddha, he began in the lap of luxury and wealth and power. And he asked himself scary questions. What if this was not the best, most fulfilling way to live? What if everything I was taught was not correct and worth scrutiny and exploration and testing? His journey was very convoluted and twisty and turny, and he had to start over many times. He had to start over when he left the palace. He had to start over when he found his first teacher. He had to start over when he left his first teacher. He had to start over when he left his second teacher. He had to start over when he joined the 5 ascetics in the forest. He had to start over when he was forsaken by the 5 ascetics in the forest. He had to start over when he discovered the middle way, and then he started over again once he mastered the Eightfold Path. And we can see that just as no one makes it through life without a scar or two, one's journey to mastery in any subject, be it vocational, recreational, intimate, any type of mastery, this is a circuitous path. Dispels the lies of perfectionism. That we have to do everything perfect every time, or somehow we failed. Welcome to the Buddha's messy path. When we read the Buddha's Eightfold Path, we do not see any mention of renunciation. We see observing change. We see a whole lot of love. We see kindness of attention, communication, conduct, and commerce. We see that the perfection of effort is the effortless effort of flowing with the centered spontaneity generated by mindfulness and meditation. But we see no mention of renunciation. Au contraire, when we read this morning's lesson, we learned that the perception of dread, desire, and confusion is not a downfall. We read that the perception of pleasure is not a downfall. Buddha's path is supposed to be one of freedom, not a teeny tiny prison cell we make for ourselves. Notice and relax and let love be our North Star. to keep track of our second collection of 144 inhalations, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger, palms up in our lap. We could count 12 repetitions. We could count the next 12 inhalations on our right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. On our left hand, we can use our thumb to count 12 sets of 12 inhalations each. Again, beginning with our little finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let us consider the phenomena of giving another the benefit of the doubt. Giving another the benefit of the doubt is not being utterly, rigidly convinced that everything someone does and says is perfect. What it simply is moving from love. We give someone the benefit of the doubt until they work very hard to show us the error of our ways, and then we move on. Failure to give the benefit of the doubt means we're living from our fearful amygdala. Our amygdala is only a few centimeters away from our anterior cingulate gyrus. But fear and aggression are as distant from empathy as east is from west. This love is generated not by an act of will, not by self-talk, not by belief, but by simply passively cooperating with the sympathetic aspect of our autonomic nervous system, as well as its parasympathetic aspect. As silently and mentally we recite the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, as well as silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's dusk meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.